Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pockets Full of Soup. I'm here with a special guest tonight, the pride of Long Island, hero of the people, Lord of Life, Colin Moriarty.
It's me. Thank you, Jared. It's good to be here with you. I'm sorry that it took us so long to sort all this out. But,
Sort what out?
the scheduling, as I want to call it.
The scheduling?
Yeah.
No, this worked out pretty well, actually. We've had some wonderful guests at this point already. More wonderful guests coming. You can see those in future episodes. But Colin, I wanted to have you on here. You are, I don't think our audience necessarily knows the story, but you are instrumental in this podcast even existing.
That's very kind. I don't know that that's necessarily true. But
heavily encouraged me to do this.
I thought you could do it, and I thought that you could be successful at it, and we're proud. I can speak for me and everyone at Kind of Funny, where I'm like, we're incredibly, we take a lot of pride in your success and very happy for it because we feel like you deserve it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's very sweet of you. Also, the fact that the Kind of Funny decided to make sure people knew about this, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, we wanted to make that happen. I still remember us having a very long talk about it after Independence Day 2.
We had to do something heartwarming to recover from Independence Day 2.
Yeah, so I remember us, we went with our ladies and we had some food and drinks afterwards, and I remember talking to you about it, and I wanted to encourage you to do it because I know it's scary to make that leap and put yourself out there, but I knew you have a certain something about you, a je ne sais quoi.
Oh, no, you're doing it again. I'm going to red like my shirt.
Where I just feel like you resonate with people, not only with games, but I just think people like you. I just think when you think about a podcast you want to listen to, it's like kind of hosted by someone like you. So I just felt like it was going to be obviously successful, and so we wanted to help you.
Well, thank you for helping make it happen. Thank you for helping make it a success.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, everybody watching and listening, for making it a success. Because without you, this is nothing. Thank you so very much for allowing me to realize this. This little corner of my dreams. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And speaking of people who have a certain something about them, Colin Moriarty, professional host, writer, media creator, personality extraordinaire, author, distinguised gentleman,
philosopher and thinker.
Yeah, philosopher
Armchair
and thinker.
Yeah.
Exactly. Colin, we've known each other a long time. I beat you once at chess, and it was one of the best days of my life. I never beat you again.
You did. Well, it was you did get me when it counted. So
that one time.
Well, I mean,
that's a good day.
I remember that day.
That's a good day.
Yeah. It was a great day. I don't. You got to lose to win.
You beat
not everyone can win all the time.
You came back with a vengeance afterward.
You're a good chess player. Chess is one of those games, I've talked about it before, where everyone knows how to play chess, but it's not very common for a person that really plays it to meet someone like you that can play.
I don't think I'm all that good, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's way different. Like someone that knows how to move the pieces and then moves their pawn in front of their rook and then moves their rook out in the first two moves. It's like, all right, you don't know how to play chess. And you can identify those kinds of people. So I always try to go in easy, and then I'm not making excuses because you beat me, fair and square. But I always try to start in a normal, conventional, like a Sicilian defense or something, where it's where, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know who. Chess is a game where you have to play out for 10 moves before you really know if the person knows how to play or not.
What's happening, right? Yeah. And that was kind of a classic control of the board game. We were playing for the center, both of us. But if you're not into chess, I hope you're still with us. But it was a fun game. But actually, what I remember is you got flustered. Something unexpected happened, and you got flustered, and it was kind of like you never really recovered your poise.
Yeah. When you're down material in chess, you're mathematically almost certainly going to lose. So it's unless you're playing I've been reading about 19th century and 18th century chess recently for some reason, where they were talking about how the game was more about gambits and stuff like that, and it wasn't about winning, it was about how you won. Ooh. And so there's this game called, what the fuck was it called, the Timeless Game or something I was reading about, and I was actually watching the recreation of it move by move, where this guy just kept throwing pieces away and was down an incredible amount of material, but ended up winning because it was a very fashionable way for him to win.
Wow.
As opposed and that was what it was all about, was the flair of how you won. It wasn't until after the Civil War era where people started to actually play with actual real strategy, preserving material and
it's like winning a Street Fighter tournament playing Sakura or Dan or something like that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So a guy will with flair throw away his bishops because it'll make the victory more interesting.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really interesting to read.
Wow. Okay. And every other time after we played, I think I could just see the laser focus. Just crushed me.
Chess is a game of echelons, man. Like there are people that I've played that I've never beaten, and I often talk about it. There was this guy I used to play in high school. That he was a great player on Long Island. He was like a really great player, and I was decent. And we used to play at lunch and after school, and I never beat him. I probably played him. I probably played him literally 50 standard matches and probably a few games of blitz too. and I'm not great at blitz, but we tried that as well. And I met up with him out here maybe 5 years ago, and I beat him over and over again.
Oh,
and I was like, I can't believe, like, how did this happen? And I knew that it wasn't necessarily me; it was him atrophying. You know, like as a player. Yeah, and I was like. So it's a game of degrees, you know?
I'll give it that.
Yeah. I love it, though. Chess is the best game. Chess is better than any video game. I want to just put that on the record again.
If you don't play chess, try. And try with somebody that's a patient and interesting teacher. It's a game that I don't know, The Onion did a thing recently where they were talking about this. It was one of those parody articles, and it's like chess master sick and tired of hearing how everything in life is a chess metaphor, like, or something like that. Just like everything's a game of just like, no, it's not. No. But it's a game that'll teach you stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a game.
It's extraordinary.
It's a deep. I hate to say because it's like it's like makes you feel good about yourself, but it's a deep thinking game. Like to play it at the level that a grandmaster plays it, which I don't, is like phenomenally, the Gary Kasparov Deep Blue matches where he thought that they were cheating because the computer was beating him and stuff like that. Like these guys don't expect to lose, and they play at such a high level, many moves ahead, and they see the board, so-called seeing the board. And I was thinking about that. I was talking about it with someone before the other day about video game terminology, about how like we take things for granted, like the way we say like, I leveled up or I'm grinding, and there's a whole chess vocabulary too that doesn't make any sense. Like. You're talking about controlling the center of the board, but it's like, what is a gambit and what is a discovery and what is like all these kinds of things, pawn promotion and
en passant.
En passant, which is a rule that like some people don't know and don't play with, and like I personally do. So it's So I like the vocabulary and the playing blitz at Washington Square Park when I was a kid was like, and losing over and over again for $5 a game was like some of the most formidable like chess learning experiences I ever had in my life.
Did you ever watch Ken Burns baseball?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, the part where they just start listing the phrases in the American language that come from baseball, and you're just like, everything I say is a baseball metaphor, and I didn't.
Yeah, and you don't know it.
Yeah.
Of course, I watched Ken Burns baseball.
That's true. Why did I even ask?
All 44 hours.
Yeah. Did you watch Extra Innings?
No, that was because Ken Burns baseball is from the 90s, right? And then he went back and did like another few hours.
Yep.
The last Ken Burns, I don't even know what the last Ken Burns thing. Oh, World War II probably. That weird one he did where it was like through the perspective of four different. The war where it was like through the perspective of like those four random people.
Yeah,
it was okay.
I like that one. I liked it quite a bit. But Ken Burns, for me, it's always going to be the Civil War.
Oh yeah. What's that? Shelby Foote? The super southern historian that's in that.
Oh yeah, the one is always talking about. Yeah, he's got the beard.
That guy was. I love. When I was a kid, like an aspiring historian. I'm like, that guy fucking rules.
It's like having Foghorn Leghorn teach you about the Civil War. It's
that guy
great.
That guy was. I love Shelby Foote. I'll always remember his name.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. There are a grand total of 3 people still watching this.
Whatever.
We've gone chess and Civil War so far. No, it's so good. Ken Burns' Civil War is ridiculous. You don't have to care anything about baseball or anything about the Civil War to watch these. They're both that engaging.
Yeah, I agree.
Suck you in.
It reminds me of the way I feel about 30 for 30 when I'm a huge sports fan and you're a sports fan too. But when I'm like, I ask people, like, do you watch 30 for 30? And they're like, I'm not a sports fan. And I'm like, you don't know, like, you're crazy. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the stories that they told, out of literally 100 30 for 30s, there's like one 30 for 30. I'm like, I can't watch this. And it was about Jackie Joyner Kersey. That was the fucking most boring thing I ever heard in my life. Everything else was awesome. And I just watched Believe Land about Cleveland, which was amazing, about how, like, the pain that city went through since the Indians won.
I haven't watched this one.
It's awesome. It just came out. It's about the Browns fan base and the Cleveland Indians fan base and the Cavs fan base, and it was really, really good. So anyway,
I like sports because it's stories. That's where
I like stories. That's the whole thing I like. That's why I like history.
Well, welcome to Pocket Full of Soup, the storytelling podcast, where we tell stories. That's really what this is ultimately about. And I'd like, if you don't mind, for you to share a story with us tonight. So I'm going to ask you that same first question that I always ask until I decide to change it. Tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
I went over this in my head, and I remember when you originally told me this, I was like, well, I was going to default to one of my parents. And then I was like, well, I am thankful for my parents.
Yeah.
But I feel like the audience, or at least the people, there's probably people that are watching this have no idea who I am, but the people that do know, I think for my immediate family, the three people that I talk about most are my mom and my dad and my brother. My brother is the reason I got into video games and I'm into nerdy things, and he animates the Kind of Funny animated series. He's a professional animator. He's the lead animator at Sesame Workshop, and he was super inspirational to me. And my dad, I got my work ethic and my republicanism and all sorts of things from my dad, who's a firefighter, retired firefighter in New York City. And my mom's a scholar, and so I got like my scholarly kind of bent, I think, from her, like my love of that kind of stuff. But in a way, then I realized when I was thinking about this more deeply, well, like there's two other people in my family, in my immediate family, my sisters, and I don't talk about them. I love them very deeply and very dearly. And I figured that maybe if we do this episode again, I'll go on about my sister Allie. But I figured my sister Dana would be a really good person to talk about because I'm very thankful for her. And I feel like she and I have had, as the years have gone on, our ups and downs. But she is incredibly influential, and maybe the single most, really when it comes down to it, the single most influential person in my life. Maybe not so much anymore because we're so distant geographically from each other, but certainly when I was a kid, she stepped in at a time in my life where the music that I like, the reason I love music, the reason I love writing and reading, the reason that I do all these things is because of her.
Really?
Yes, and categorically. And so I feel like I'm always giving her short shrift in a way where I'm like, she doesn't come up, like because because I feel so distant from her geographically, and we've grown up, apart as we've gotten older in a way. But like, I still love her. I still feel like we have the same relationship we ever did. It's just
when's the last time you saw her?
So like a year and a half ago. I think it was in April of 2015. Is the last time I saw her. It was right before I went home to Long Island for a week before I went to Iceland.
Okay.
And that was the last time I saw all my siblings. That was the last time I saw everyone but my parents. So I've seen my parents more recently than that. But my sisters, my brother, that was the last time I saw them. It was a year and a half ago. We were on Long Island together.
What did you and her talk about?
Then we just talked. She has a family and she's a teacher. So we were talking about those kinds of things and music and this and that. But she's got 3 boys and it's a handful, and they're good. They're really good kids. But
so did she talk about her kids, or did she talk about?
Yeah, she did. But she's also tending to a lot of different things. And this guy's got to eat, and this one's got to go do this, and So like I feel like she and I haven't had a very deep conversation in a long time. But
well, let's think back to that then. Let me ask you about this. When's the last time you talked to your sister when it was just the two of you having time to talk?
Oh, man. Probably a few years ago, I would say. I mean, I'm sure I can't remember the specific conversation, but she and I used to talk way more on the phone. We don't talk really at all anymore on the phone, but we used to talk often on the phone. And she, it's funny because like it's so funny that she's probably a complete mystery to people that have known me for years, and not know me literally, but know me on the internet or know my stories and the tired shit I probably talk about.
You guys tell a lot of stories on Kind of Funny.
Yeah, we do, and so like you double and triple up and quadruple up sometimes over if you listen to everything I do. I was thinking about it recently. I'm like, I talk, I think, in a microphone for between 12 and 14 hours a week. So eventually, I don't have anything else to fucking talk about.
And yet you do, apparently.
I do. So I figure it out. PS4 Pro is announced, and that gives me another 5 hours of fodder to make fun of it. But, my relationship with her really started at a very embryonic state in my life. And I don't mean that literally. I mean, like, just I'm the youngest of 4, and she's, I think, 9 years older than me.
Okay.
Maybe 8.5.
So much older than you.
Yeah, my brother's 11 years older than me. My other sister is 5.5 or 6 years older.
So by the time you really have memories of her that are solid, she's probably like 13, right?
Yeah, even a little. I mean, I really remember her in high school and college, and my mom and dad got divorced. My mom left when I was it was 1992. I was 7 or 8.
So you remember it pretty clearly?
No, I mean, that's the thing is I don't remember the moment. In fact, I had recently talked to my father about this for the first time. I had, not the first time, but I mean the first time where I really got deep with him, where I'm like, I was so concerned about my own pain surrounding that event over the years that I never realized how much it hurt him. And I'm like, oh, my dad and my mom, who knew each other, they're 65 now. They're friendly now. I mean, they're friends. It's a long time ago. But they had met each other when they were teenagers. They went to high school together. They got engaged right out of there and all this. And my dad went to the Air Force for a little while. My mom went to nursing school for a little while. And I think they reconvened. I don't know the exact story, but I never really sat down and thought, I'm like, wow, like I've lost what I thought was love. It wasn't really love anymore, but that was probably real love to them. They were together for a really long time, and that probably really fucking hurt. And I was so how he kept going on and stuff. So anyway, we had this conversation, and it brought that up, but it also brought back memories of Dana, because Dana at that time was my mom, and that's the
Really?
and that, yes, like 100%, and that's the long and the short of it, is that, you know, Dana was a mom figure for me for a really long time, and it almost never stopped. You know, like she took care of me and took me under her wing and like made sure I was okay. To the point where I feel like I don't have a lot of memories of that time in my life in the early 90s on Long Island, because it almost seemed like that was the way it was supposed to be. Like she did such a good job of shielding me from the realities of whatever was going on, that it was because of her that I think I persevered and survived. And she worked in high school at a library, Brookhaven Free Library, which is, I'm from Brookhaven, Long Island, and it's like an old colonial house from, you know, the 1700s, and basically like that they just renovated and added on to, and it's a small town library. And she worked there, and I used to just go to work with her every day and go through the stacks and read things that I probably wasn't supposed to be reading, and watching videos.
What were you reading?
Like, just I don't know. Like, that's when I was reading history. That's when I was reading. You know, I was reading children's books and stuff. But that's when I got. You know, that's when I was reading like Brian Jacques, and I was reading you know, like things that were like a little old. That's when I got Lois Lowry and things that piqued my curiosity, where I was like, I really like books and I like reading, and every kid grows up getting read to and all those kinds of things. But it was those experiences where she was like, here we are, and I can't pay attention to you for the next 4 hours or whatever. And
my mom worked in a public library for years. It's the same thing. I would go to work with her, and then I just hang out at the library for 6 hours, 8 hours, and these stories are very familiar.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like osmosis. It's like I just absorbed that atmosphere, and that friendly atmosphere too, because the people that she worked with were all very nice women. They were all women.
Yeah.
Very understanding of the situation, probably knew way more about it than I did. And I remember they had an Apple II and later like a Macintosh, so like I would make time on that, and that's how I really started to like play a lot of those games. But I used to just also like write things and print things out, and like, because you know, the dot matrix printers. And
she teach you to use it?
Yeah, like, and others did too. She knew how to they all knew how to like turn it on, like boot up a disk. No one really knew how to use it. It's like you kind of figured it out on your own. But I feel like, you know, those days are really, I remember those days, and they're really special to me. In a time when everything's kind of like this vortex, and I don't really know what's going on around me, and I have like these very scattered memories of my mom leaving, you know, I don't want to make it sound bad like my mom left my dad, but it's not like she left and I never saw her again. You know, my mom's a great mom, and she brought me up too. It's just that she lived far away, and
you were there with your dad.
Yeah, I was there with my dad.
Your sister was much older than you, and your sister filled a good portion of that role in your
life.
Right,
and Allie was closer. My other sister was closer in age to me, so I feel like she was going through her own shit, and like I don't remember our interactions like that well from that era. It wasn't until later.
How aware of this was Dana? For you, at about that age, when you're really coming into your own, she takes on the role of a maternal figure. What about for Dana the other way around, becoming kind of a surrogate mom to you for that period of time? Was she conscious of that?
I don't know if I think, so the funny thing about that is, and I think she would say the same thing, I mean, my observation of it is that she was cognizant of it when she had her first son, my own mom, who's, you know, his grandmother, and Dana, who's his mom, swear up and down like that is like, he's in some way an embodiment of me in some weird way, where like he's very similar to me. He's athletic but intellectually curious. He's a good kid. He's he's kind of like good natured, and I feel like I was all those things. I mean, I had my faults. I'm sure he does too. I don't know what they are because I don't know him that well. Well, everyone has something that's like not, you know, but he's like a good kid. He studies hard. I think he's started 5th grade. You know, he's smart. He's way smarter than he should be. And that doesn't surprise me knowing who his mom is. Mm-hmm. But I feel like she became cognizant of that, and it was like a full circle kind of thing for her in a way when she had a kid and a boy, and she has 3 boys, and it's like realizing like maybe for all she did for me, and she did a lot for me when I was a kid, that I did something for her too by preparing her for that, and that eventuality that she was going to have kids and that she was going to have boys, and that she kind of maybe learned some things by raising me for a while, you know. And you know, my dad was a firefighter. It was like he was never home, you know. Like my dad would work, you know, 3-day shifts, and he had other jobs too, you know. I've told this story before, but like we lived in I never really realized it because it was so normal to me, but we lived in a massive house on Long Island on a big piece of land with an in-ground pool and a big lawn and like 2-car garage and all these kinds of things. And that came from like blood, sweat, and tears. That's the reason that my parents got divorced. You know, like, was like my dad worked constantly. My dad like doesn't stop. He still doesn't stop. And he did it because he thought he didn't do anything wrong. It's just like that's the way he thought. You know, that's what he did. You provide for your family. You're the man. You provide for your family. And
provision was his way of expressing care.
I think so. You know, and so like I always tell the story that I knew my dad. I loved my dad when I was a kid, but like I was always so happy when he'd get home. I remember he used to pick me up and lift me up in the kitchen. And I remember we had like this ceiling that was like like it was like, you know, like I don't know if they do it anymore. The ceilings that were like they're rough ceilings or whatever. Like they're not smooth like the walls.
I know the one you're talking about.
And I remember always wanted to touch him. He always let me like But I feel like I didn't really know him until after the divorce because that's what like started to ground him a little bit. Where it was like I maybe need to like gain some control of like whatever's going on, and so I feel like with Dana, she's special to me because like she instilled this love of all of these things in me. But I also feel like I learned a lot of lessons from her too. And I don't know that I necessarily can name them all, but I just know that like she and I are way too similar in too many ways, from in good ways and I think in bad ways. That you know like we both have terrible tempers. We both like. Do those kinds of things where I think that like I just kind of became her in some ways, you know, and through that little process of being with her all the time and just being around her all the time, I realized that I developed naturally the very same things that she loves. She's an English teacher and she loves to read. She loves literature. She loves to write and do all those kinds of things. And that's like, is it a coincidence that that's what I do? I just don't think so. You know, like
what else? What else did she give you?
Music was another big thing. Like, my family's very musical. Like, they're very into music, and my parents are too. And so, like, I grew up with the Moody Blues and Pink Floyd and the Beatles and all those kinds of things. But Dana was the one that really introduced me to like what was contemporary at that time. I love the Police because of Dana, one of my favorite bands. I love Bare Naked Ladies, old Bare Naked Ladies. Like,
I'm glad you qualified that.
Well, like Gordon and Born on a Pirate Ship and Maybe You Should Drive. Like, these are great records, long before anyone even gave a fuck about them. Rage Against the Machine, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, like a lot of this stuff came from her and from my brother and from my other sister as well, and I feel like that was instilled in me as well. Like, so I became very much my sibling's sibling.
Where'd she play it all?
I'm sorry.
Where did she play it all? Where did you learn the music? Was it in the car?
Oh, like a lot of it in the like you know in her room or whatever, or
she just invite you to listen to music.
She used to, we used to have it on. Like I remember. I remember very vividly when I started like really getting into drums. This was later on. She was playing. My dad has like a beautiful stereo. He always has. Like, and back in the day, she was playing like Phil Collins, "In the Air Tonight," and that drum solo, like that like in the bridge, that like very famous, very easy drum thing. I remember her being like, listen, like, this is so cool. Like, you'll enjoy this. And I did. And those kinds of things happened over and over again. So like, it was very, like if we were cleaning or we were out at the pool or we were like, you know, driving with her friends or whatever, she included me, you know, like that's another thing is like, she really included me in her life. Like the people that I love her friends, like to this day, because her old friends that they're still friends, you know, now because she always included me. She made me feel like I was like important or, like I was wanted. You know, and so I remember like going to the mall with her, going to stores with her, going to New York City with her and her friends. I'm like way younger than them, and they were all cool with me too. Maybe they didn't want me there, but they never. They would go in the pool at night, and I would hear them. You know, like when I was upstairs playing a video game or something, and I would go, and it would be like 10 o'clock, and I'd go, and the lights would be on, and they'd be hanging out. And I would go into the pool with them or like hang out. Like, you know, it was it meant something to me. You know, those people, Melody and Raina and Melissa, like they were like really important to me too, you know, and so I just felt like she was, you know, she was interesting to me, and I loved her, you know, I love her, but like as a kid, I was like, I really love this, like this woman who was like really making, you know, who made me feel like I was okay, you know, and I didn't realize that until later, and I have a very vivid memory of that big house. We sold it in 1997, and it was heartbreaking for everyone. My dad was like devastated. I think that there was a lot of ghosts in that place for my dad, and he built that house with his, you know, designed that house with his own two hands. And she and I went into the attic with a marker, and behind where no one could possibly see it unless they really looked, we wrote like a message and like and dated it and all that kind of stuff. And I wonder like if it's still there.
You and Dana wrote that together.
And
what was the message?
It was just like, we lived here and here's who we are, and like these are the dates we lived here from, and like, you know, basically treat this house with care.
Whose idea was that?
I don't know. I think it was hers. And then I remember driving up to New Hampshire with her and my dad, and her first teaching job was at St. Thomas Aquinas, which was a place I actually got into and ended up not going. I wanted to play hockey there, but I ended up moving back to Long Island. But I lived in New Hampshire for a little while. And to back up, like I lived in, you know, from kindergarten to third grade, I lived in Long Island full time. And then for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, I lived in Maine with my mom and went to school there, and then went home for summers and vacations to Long Island. And then seventh grade, I moved to New Hampshire and went to private school, and I lived with my mom, and then went to, you know, Long Island. And at that time, my dad sold everything and moved to New Hampshire for a year, and then I lived with him and my mom, you know, in different times. And then we moved back to Long Island full time in ninth grade. She lived in New Hampshire that year. It was 1997, 1998. She worked at a Ford dealership. She went to SUNY Oswego in New York, and then graduated and was waiting to get her teaching job, and did. She lived in the same apartment complex that my mom lived in, and I used to go and visit her. Like we had like our regimen of TV shows. We watched like 90210, Melrose Place, and like Party of Five and all that kind of stuff. We'd order Domino's pizza and like and dick around and like, you know, laugh and do all those kinds of things. And
so even after she left the house, you still remained close.
Yeah, and she would when she was in Oswego, she'd write me letters all the time. I have them all. Write me letters and cards, and I'd write her back. And I remember when I was in fourth grade in Maine, she came and visited me, and like came to my classroom, and like we like made Christmas ornaments or something together. I thought it was like so cool. She was like my favorite person, you know, and you know, I'm sad that we, as adults, we had some strife and we like grew a little distant from each other. And
I was going to ask you about that. You mentioned at the beginning ups and downs. What did something drive a wedge between you?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I don't even know really what it is anymore. Like in a way, you know, like I feel like I said before, like she and I are so similar that I feel like it was inevitable that like I'm like her protege in a way. You know, like in a lot of ways, and like we're so similar, it's like that's gonna grate at some point, right? Like we're not totally and fully as compatible as we thought, because I'm no longer a child, and I think that, that was, you know, I remember saying that in the heat of the moment, like I'm not a fucking kid anymore, you know, like you don't have to talk to me like this, you know, and that was
sounds like something a kid would say to their parent.
Yeah, exactly, and like. She never, you know, I had a lot of shame, and I think maybe she did too, but I don't know, about the way things went down with us. And they got, you know, I won't get into it, but it got more serious, you know, like we didn't talk for a long time at all.
How
not
long?
Once, for probably a couple of years.
It's a long time.
Yeah. And we eventually broke the ice, and I think I emailed her, and we got back into a cadence or whatever. We communicate, which is nice.
Was that before or after you stopped talking on the phone? I'm just curious.
I stopped talking on the phone to everyone. Everyone stopped talking on the phone except for like my parents. Like I didn't, you know, no one was calling each other anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of like iPhones and all. You know, it's like everyone texts and all that. And that's fine. You know, she's busy and I'm busy, and she's more busy than I am. She has a family.
So you don't feel like that was part of any?
No, I think that, you know, by the time we always had a good relationship, and I always especially loved her. I love her kids very much, and I love her husband, who I've known amazingly. I've known for 20 years. You
wow.
know, like I met him in 1997, and great man, good man, solid person. And I always had a lot of respect and esteem for them. And when I was in college, I would talk to her constantly, like all the time. And I went and visited her, and she's lived in Virginia forever. She used to live in North Carolina. She was so cool to me that. She was broke. She was poor, you know, in like her mid-20s. She lived in North Carolina for a while, in Greensboro. And she like flew me down to like just stay with her for a few weeks. And I remember going to see like Blair Witch Project with her, and she would like go to work, and like I would just sit and watch the History Channel all day. Like I would eat like chicken patties for dinner. She had like no money we can go out to eat or anything like that, and she brought me to used to bring me to Bare Naked Ladies shows, and like treat me like I was treating me like, I think it went a long way to just treat me like I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And she always taught me that you'll be treated kind of the way that you deserve to be treated, and I tried to carry myself like an adult, so she treated me like one. That's when she bring me into the city when she was 20 and I was 9 or 10 or whatever, 11, or when she would fly me down to hang out with her, or she would come up and see me, or I'd go to Virginia when I was in college to see her and hang out with her. And
when was the last time you guys did this?
Oh God, I mean, we haven't had one-on-one time in many years. I would imagine we've had no long one-on-one time since long before our first son was born.
Do you think that's the cause? The fact that you were kind of a surrogate son for a long time, and now she has kids from her own family. Do you think that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that like the thing that I've come to terms with, Jared, is like in my life is situations change. Yeah. I also accept that I left. Like everyone else in my family is there. Either on Long Island or in Virginia. Everyone's relocating to Virginia, which is funny. Is how everyone loves it there. My mom's there. My aunt and uncle are there. Both of my sisters are there. My brother's in Philadelphia. My dad's on Long Island. So everyone's like in that area.
Yeah.
And they see each other constantly. I don't see anyone. And I think a lot of it, and I think I came to terms with this a while ago, is that I avoid my family sometimes not because I don't love them, because I'm like, I love my family. My parents are rock solid people. My siblings are great people. My nieces and nephews are fantastic. It's because it hurts. Like I built this thing out here for myself I can't believe it. It's going to be 10 years. And time has flown, and it's like Independent George, from Seinfeld. It's like I am by myself out here, and I'm Independent Colin, and like
that's like our second Seinfeld in like 3 weeks. By the way,
that's fine.
Jordan Bush
it can get way worse than that.
He was Seinfelding too the other day.
It can get way worse than that.
I love Seinfeld,
but it's so. But I've never forgotten. No matter how things change, I've never forgotten very specific interactions I've had with my 3 siblings and especially with Dana that have helped shape me, and the mistakes I've also made. But the adoration that I have for her, that I will always have for her, and how thankful I am for her. So she's, she doesn't come up very often because there's no reason for her to, because we're not talking about on Kind of Funny. We're not talking about music, or we're not talking about literature. We're not talking about family and necessarily or things like that. But she was so. If you love me now, if you care for what I write and what I do, whatever, like you have her to thank. It didn't have to end up this way. She made a very disastrous situation. I've often said that I was robbed in my childhood, and I really feel that way. And I don't say that from a place of anger. I say that from a place of absolute reality. Like, does anyone remember what it was? If you have a nuclear family of 6 people, and then do you remember having a Christmas with everyone? Because I don't. Do you remember like sitting down at a dinner table with everyone? Because I don't. And that happened, but I was 5 or 6. And that was totally robbed of me. I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I was never one of those people where they're like, when the divorce happens, and they're like, it's not your fault. I'm like, I know it's not my fault.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I've known that forever. I'm not stupid. It's just like,
doesn't mean you wish something hadn't been different.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that and so like out of everyone that could have made things feel okay, like Dagan was in college or going to college or was basically gone. Allie was too young, and Dana was in that sweet spot where it was like, I'm gonna take care of Colin, and she did, and having kind of a father who was not disengaged, but just because of the nature of what he did was just gone, and the stay-at-home mom that really helped to keep that like glue together, had to left. And I don't blame, and I want to be clear, like I love my mom. I don't blame my mom at all. She had to do what she had to do. She didn't do anything wrong. Like she ended the marriage because she wasn't happy, and that's fine. But that had a material effect on me, and so Dana did her thing, and I respect and appreciate that. And I'll never forget it. No matter what happens, she and I are on good terms now. But even if we never talked ever again, like I would always remember what she did, and I can name you 100 different things that she did. I remember them. I really do. I remember, and so she is who I am thankful for today. I mean,
I love hearing these tremendous stories from people I know. Sitting here at the mic, I don't usually know what somebody's going to say, and you just learn another marvelous, marvelous dimension of compassion from here, Colin. I really appreciate it. I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
First, Dana largely raised you. What, if you're ever a father, what that Dana gave you do you want to give your kid?
I mean, I said it before, but like what she gave me was curiosity,
Yeah.
or at least, maybe you're born with it, but I feel like she drew it out of me. But also, the amount of adoration and respect that I had for her meant that I was just interested in anything she did, or like she'd be eating cucumbers or something, like sliced cucumbers with salt on the living room floor, watching MTV music videos, and so I did too. Or she would be watching 90210, and so I would too. Or
and is that what you want your kid to feel like towards you?
I feel like that. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting to. Is like I feel like I had such a comfortable relationship with her. It was almost one of those relationships that I always imagined in my head. It's like the Gilmore Girls or something, where it's like they're closer in age than I was way closer in age, and Dana couldn't have had me. But I'm saying like where it's like, I feel like you hear about some of that more kindred kind of shit where it's like through the fires of something you are forged into this particular relationship with a person. And our situation might not have been necessarily unique. 50% of American households end up in divorce. I mean, that's just the way it is. So it's not unique at all, actually. But I feel like it was that level of camaraderie almost that really did a great deal for me. She was patient.
Yeah.
And caring and loving and selfless. And this was a 16-year-old girl. This wasn't.
That's exceptional.
This wasn't some fucking 20-something-year-old. This was a person that like didn't have to do anything. This is a person that like probably was interested in boys and wanted to go do other things and wanted to go out with her friends and go to the movies. And she ran track and cross country and she played soccer and she was busy. She had a job.
But you never felt like she was faking it.
No, she included me. I'd go to soccer games. I'd go to the library with her. I was there with her. Like, if we had to walk home from the library, we did. If we had to it's just those times are really precious to me because they masked a harsh reality that was going on around me. And when everyone asked me like, well, what was that like? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't remember, because it was totally hidden by one person, and so. And I didn't realize until I was an adult, until I started putting the pieces together, that I'm like, this is why I don't remember. It's not because I was 7 or 8. Like, you remember shit when you were 7 years old. Like,
so that's the kind of father you want to be?
Yeah. So I want to be the kind of father that's like I know you can't. They say you can't do it. And I don't know anything about parenting, but like a friend, like a confidant, a person that shares things with their kid and like and helps mold them. And that's what I can see with her sons too. Like, they're really, and I'm not saying it because they're my nephews, they're good fucking kids. Mm-hmm. They're smart and curious and athletic and like all the things that I was, and I don't want to necessarily call myself smart, but I was curious and athletic and like and intellectual in the sense that like you can see where that comes from. It only like you can tell. I hate to say it, but it's like when a parent goes hands on, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to be like a helicopter parent or anything like that. It just means like, like. That's what I want to do. Is I want to be that for my kids. I want to make them feel okay.
That's great. Yeah. Final question for you then. The house is still there, right?
Yes.
So, you ever gonna go grab Dana one afternoon when you're home and go see if it's still written up there?
Maybe. I mean, my dream has always been to buy it.
Yeah.
But God, it's worth probably $1 million now. It's like, unfathomable that I would ever be able to afford it. But
you're lord of a successful enterprise. I mean,
I always wanted to buy it and give it to my dad. Yeah. But I'd like that. I go back to that. I like when I drive by that house, it hurts a lot. And coincidentally, it's so weird. Like I was at a wedding in Connecticut, last year. A buddy of mine, one of my very best friends, Mike, was getting married. One of the guys that was there, I'd never met him before. they became friends recently. We were talking. And he's like, I'm like, oh, I lived on that, the street. And he's like, you lived at what house? And I'm like, oh, this house. And he's like, oh, one of my great friends lives there. I'm over that house all the time.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I'm like, but it was funny because he was telling it like it was like a funny coincidence, but for some reason it hurt. And I was like, I need to get that house back. Like I'm like that's I'm a very nostalgic person. It's not a huge surprise, right? But like, because I'm into history and old things. I love old things. I love old stories, and I'm super nostalgic. And I'm like, I must get this place back. And I have a memory of I have my good friend, one of my best friends growing up, Tim, lived down the street. His family still lives there. Great people. And right after I moved, I went and visited him, and he knew the people that had moved in, so that we went into the house and looked around, and they were pulling. I remember they were ripping the wallpaper off the walls and doing all sorts of like ripping the carpets up, and I'm like, I don't want to see this anymore. And it hurt. And then I went back to the house again. I didn't go into the house, but 10 years later, when I was a senior in college, like at Thanksgiving break, I went to the house, and he and me and him and his two brothers who I grew up with just got drunk and fucked up, and were hanging out and just reminiscing on the back porch. And I was like, it was one of the great nights of my life. And I remember getting up the next morning and like driving by the house, and going home back to where I live now and where my dad lives now, which is a great house too. And just feeling this welling of like, there's something about this place that I can't let go of. I can't let go of that house. I can't let go of the memories there. And a lot of them have to do, and I don't know if my other siblings feel that way. I suspect they do, but a lot of them have to do with Dana, and a lot of them have to do with Dakin and Allie and friends, and just that pool and that front yard, and that playing hockey in the driveway. And I don't know. So she's kind of central to all of this, these feelings.
Colin, thank you for telling Dana's story.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. That's extraordinary. Thank you for sharing it. We're gonna do the part now where we have this kind of hard right turn.
I like hard right turns.
Yeah, where this is when we move into what we call instant noodles, which is a bunch of quick questions.
Sure.
Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. We also ask people on Patreon and Facebook to write in and send a few questions in, which we don't always do, but we do sometimes, and we did it for tonight. So, but before we do any of that, we need to thank our Patreon producers, Xavier Saint-Laurent-Tremblay. And
I know him.
Yeah. Oh, you know Xavier?
Well, I know that name. Yeah. I think he supports us.
Yeah,
too.
Xavier Saint-Laurent-Tremblay and Robert Nieder. Both of these guys who generous support help makes the show possible. Also to you, our watchers, viewers, subscribers, listeners, at all, etc. Thanks to all of you. Please do subscribe if you don't mind, and send us messages at mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. That's mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com, or you can send a thank you message for somebody who's been important in your life, or just other general correspondence. Now let's take a look here at a couple of the posts from the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group, which you can also join for free anytime you want, just by looking for Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group.
It's a great name.
Yeah, it's fairly easy. So the very first question I see here under here right now, and I do not know the context for this. What happened to the avocado?
Oh, the avocados. This is a story that basically Greg. I had avocados here one day. I needed them for some reason. Greg obviously ate them, but he denies that he ever ate them, and so we don't know exactly whatever happened with them, other than the fact that Greg clearly ate the avocados.
Greg ate them.
Yeah,
just by themselves.
I mean, that's my conclusion. Yeah,
the skins and all.
I don't know if he ate the skin. I had no evidence. There's no physical evidence that the avocados ever even existed.
So they could just get entirely consumed by Greg. What got you into your passion for politics, and what continues to drive that passion today?
My father was the reason I got into politics, but I feel like my dad was very instrumental in I listened to a lot of talk radio at a very young age, I guess is what I'm saying. And Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity. I mean, this is the stuff I listened to. It was a little less extreme back then.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, I know people hear those names and cringe now, but I just, Michael Savage, like I feel like Michael Savage is always fucking crazy, but so my dad was the one that really got me in. My dad's a paleo conservative, like a Rockefeller conservative, very socially liberal, but very fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
And that's the way we are on Long Island. Long Island's actually a very paleo conservative place. People don't know that. The Democratic stronghold is New York City. That's why we always vote Democrat. Upstate and Long Island are not Democratic necessarily per se. Maybe they become more blue recently. So that was the reason why I remember the Gulf War being the first thing that I really was like ever in the time and place I connected with, and I was interested in watching it on TV and poring over the newspaper. And so what keeps me connected to it now is just sheer curiosity. I love the machine. I think it's fascinating. It's fucked up. Our government's inept and corrupt, but it's fun to watch. And I feel like this election particularly is a strange one.
If nothing else, it's not dull.
No, I mean, I think it's knowing history. I feel like American history the way I do, and you do too. I feel like I don't think it's melodramatic to say this is an historic. People will look back at this race the way they look back at, like 1912.
This is
maybe
odd.
even 1860. And
this
shit.
is odd, and it's important.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm with you there. Wherever you end up voting in this election, it's a weird one and historically significant one for many reasons, some of which probably won't become clear to us for years afterward.
Yeah,
but
we'll see. We'll see the outcome. And I think the funny thing is, as with the time we're recording this, like I just don't know what. Like I sense that Clinton will win, but I don't know. I feel like she's doing everything possible to lose. The pneumonia thing is like the next thing where I'm like, wow. Okay.
You mentioned the Gulf War. The Gulf War started on my birthday. That was weird.
Really?
Yeah, it was really strange. Ryan Morawski says, I want to thank my mom, who is recovering from breast cancer, for being the toughest fighter I'll ever know. That's just
it's a serious thing, man. Breast cancer survivors and cancer survivors in general, very brave people gone through. I watched Greg go through his shit, and it's. I watched my grandfather die of cancer. It's terrible, terrible fucking disease. I can't believe almost that it exists.
It's like this horrible thing that came out of some Cthulhuan hole to like plague humanity.
It's I know it's a very base thing to say, but it's like so strange and weird.
Yeah,
in a way,
awful.
and we can't control it.
Well,
we have to like almost destroy ourselves to kill it. With radiation and chemo and stuff, it's like you're killing yourself almost just to see if you can kill it more.
It's like something Cronenberg would invent and put in a movie, except it's real and even more horrible. Yeah, it really is. I agree. Corey Hicks says to you, "Thank you, Colin, for being a friend and helping me get through my mother's passing last year, even though we've never met or spoken."
You're welcome. That's terrible. It's a terrible thing. I get so sad when I hear about the things our audience and our friends out there go through. I feel thankful that I'm able to be in their lives, even in some sort of, even if I put a smile on their face, even if I annoy them. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of people out there that hate me, and I respect that. And that's fine. But even if I give them pause or occupy their mind in some way, occupy that real estate in a way that gets their mind off of things, even if they don't like me, I think that's a pretty positive thing. I try to keep that into context when I sometimes get upset or wonder what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I'm at least touching people, in a very, in a way that is very beneficial for them sometimes, and just like the way football gets my mind off of things, or a good song, it's no different.
That's where you go with that. Sean Clerkin says, "Thank you, Colin. Hearing you talk and kind of funny about anxiety made it easier for me to reach out for help myself. I'm in a far better place now. I'd like to thank you for your efforts to destigmatize mental health issues."
Yeah, I'm trying. I mean, Jared and I were talking a little bit about that before we started recording, and I'm glad you reached out for help. I mean, I feel like my issues in some ways are getting worse, but I feel like it's important to talk about it and be honest and open about it, because I do feel like there's a stigma even in 2016 about it. And I want people to know out there, and I'll reiterate it over and over again, that, depression isn't good, but it's normal in terms of it's not an uncommon thing to have. It's social anxiety or panic attacks and stuff. These things really do happen, and you're not a bad person, and you didn't do anything wrong, and you didn't deserve it, and then you can fix it. And I feel like it's not openly talked about in a lot. Even in our sphere in gaming, it's so I want to be I have fucking crazy anxiety. I am depressed. That's
there's a lot of room for openness, and there's a lot of stigmatization. They both exist. I suffer from serious mental health issues and have gotten help for it for many years, and I've seen incredible support, and I've seen situations where you just didn't even know where to turn, and they exist side by side in this weird kind of reality. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I just want people to know, I guess, a lot of people look up to me for some reason, and so I want people to, someone gets out of bed and is like, well, I'm depressed, or, and I'm like, well, hey, this guy you listen to online is just like you. It's not, my life isn't all, fucking flowers and blue skies. It's not, like it should be maybe sometimes when it's not, but I just want people to know that it gets better and you're not alone. So I'm glad that resonates with you. And I was so surprised when I did that Game Over Greggy's show about anxiety, like how much that resonated with people. Like it was incredible. I've gotten a bajillion fucking emails and private messages and stuff about that. And I'm really happy about that because I really wasn't, that wasn't even my topic. That was someone else's topic. And I'm so glad that we were able to talk about it.
That's... Timothy Wisenhunt says, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, I have celiac. Is that correct?
Yeah, celiac, yeah.
An immunodisorder that causes your body to be unable to break down gluten and instead attacks it in the area surrounding the gluten. Colin went through a time when he was told he had celiac, but didn't. When my wife and I met him at Beyond 300, he was still under that impression. I want to know what the first few things he ate and drank were once he found out that he didn't have it and how he felt.
A cheeseburger was the first thing I ate when I found out I didn't have it. Although it wasn't that. The ironic thing is that by the time I found out that I didn't have it, I hadn't even eaten gluten in like 2 weeks, which was like the longest I'd ever gone. I had no discipline. Like the thing about that my celiac thing was that like I was positive that I didn't have it. I remember arguing with the doctors. I'm like, what you're saying doesn't make any fucking sense. I remember like getting really angry at them and like they're like, well, you have it, and I'm like, but celiac disease has like failure to thrive and all these. I'm like 6 feet tall. I'm overweight. Like I grew up in an Italian household eating pizza and pasta every fucking day, and sandwiches and heroes and I'm like, what you're saying just doesn't make sense, And they're like, but you have it. I'm like, but you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. and for 2 years, I just went through and I eventually accepted. I'm like, maybe they're right. And then I got an endoscopy, and they went, that which is the gold standard, and they came out. I remember saying to the doctor when I was going under, I'm like, I hope you don't find anything, and I was like kind of passing out. I remember him being like, don't count on it. And then I woke up or whatever, and they're like, there is no evidence that you have celiac disease. Like the villi in your stomach are fine. Like there's literally no evidence you don't have celiac disease. And I was like, I fucking told you guys.
It's like something pre the rise of the Napoleonic Wars changed everything about the way we did medicine, and before that period of time, really doctors just asked you what was wrong with you. If you got a doctor. Now doctors tell you what's wrong with you, and most of the time, 99.9% of the time, that's correct. But every now and then, you can tell them something they're just not going to be able to figure out.
Yeah, the blood, I guess, indicated that I did, but you could spike it by eating lots of gluten, and I was like, but I eat like an entire pizza like every day, like so.
Gluten.
Yeah, like I had terrible discipline. The one. So I remember when I found out I had celiac disease in quotes, which I didn't. I was at E3 and I started hysterically crying in the war room. I'll never forget that. And Scott Bromley like hugged me. I remember it was like because he's my roommate at the time, but the one benefit of it was that when I thought I couldn't drink beer anymore is when I started drinking bourbon. And so something positive came out of it.
Yeah, because bourbon's good.
One of my great loves. So.
Bourbon's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Beer I like beer, but they got nothing on bourbon.
Yeah, it's kind of like Francis Bacon's acorns were sufficient until man made bread. So also beer was sufficient until man made bread.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's all right. Instant noodles, lightning round. Okay. Here we go. What is best sandwich?
Chicken parm.
Ooh, chicken parmy. All right, chicken parmy. What's the best song written in the last 100 years?
God, I was just talking about this with someone. This is a funny answer. It's not really. It would be my answer would be different on any given day. But I was talking about how "Drops of Jupiter" by Train is probably one of the most perfect songs ever written from an aesthetic. Like you must listen to every literal second and a literal aspect of the song, from the strings to the guitar to the lyrics to the the construction of the song is like that wouldn't necessarily be my answer, but I was literally just talking about why I think that's a perfect song.
I can't figure out how the same group that wrote "Your Hair Is Everywhere," Screaming Infidelity also wrote "Drops of Jupiter." Like,
different. That's a different band.
Is that a different Train?
Your hair. That "Your Hair Is Everywhere," "Screaming Infidelities." That's written by Dashboard Confessional.
I thought that was Train. No. Okay, well, never mind. I'm just showing my ignorance. Well, anyway, "Drops of Jupiter" is beautiful. Okay, great. No argument for me. What's the first word you think of when you hear the sound of your own voice?
Annoying.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Vanilla.
Really?
Yeah.
Your first vanilla, I think.
I think it's the only flavor of ice cream I even like.
If you could travel through time and meet any one person, who would you visit?
Jesus Christ, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm an atheist. Yeah. But like I just want to know what the hell is going on.
You like to have a talk with him?
Yeah.
Find out what's up?
Yeah, I think that like if I could bring that information back to the future, I think that'd be very useful for everyone.
What if he's just like, I'm the son of God?
If I can spend a few, like if I can get with him like during a miracle, like
Yeah.
the fishing net or like like something like that where it's like, and I see it with my own two eyes.
Yeah.
I think that'd be very useful information for
That would be really interesting. That would be. I mean that one's going to be up there for me too. But there is this Andrew Lloyd Webber-ish inside me that just wants to be, who are you? What did you sacrifice? Do you think you're who they say you are? That kind of, that it's.
If I can get an hour with him, and he can speak English, or I can speak, Aramaic or whatever.
That could be probably,
I'd be totally smitten with that. Like he definitely existed. So I just want to, like, historically, Josephus writes about him, everyone. So it's like, I know he existed. So I just want to.
Who is this guy?
I'm just totally curious. It's so funny that would be my answer because I want to do it for everybody.
No, I think that's a good one. I think it's
since he's probably the most important person that ever lived when you really think about it.
What is the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
Oh God, some sort of spider probably.
Nah, that's a popular answer. I think for Halloween, instead of pockets full of soup, we're gonna do pockets full of spiders.
Oh my God, dude!
We're just gonna take the guests and fill their pockets with live spiders from a jar.
I can't with fucking spiders.
Yeah, I don't like
them. They're terrifying.
Oh no, you're terrified of them. Actually, I you know what? I'm not even gonna say his name because somebody might say. I have a friend that's truly just mollified. I'm scared to death of him. What's your favorite word?
Oh God. What's some word that I always use, like myriad or something?
Myriad's a great one.
Minutia.
I thought it might be the zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist is another one.
But myriad.
Salient. God, again, you talk for 14 hours a week out there, and we'll see how good your fucking vocabulary is.
Didn't the super salients? Those are the guys with the big hair, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't answer that for you.
Who was your first kiss?
I guess like real kiss was probably like this girl Melissa I went to middle school with.
How was it?
I don't remember. I remember like we went out for a few months.
You went out, but you don't remember the first kiss?
I remember it. I don't remember like what it was like. I remember being really nervous.
Can't have been that good then. I'm
no.
guessing.
I mean like no, but that was like probably the first like real kiss.
I've had people that had like good first kisses. Like that's been one of the surprises about this question.
I don't think I probably had a real like good kiss until high school probably.
Cake or pie?
Pie, but very specific kind. I'm not really a sweets guy, so I'm talking more like. But I like apple pie. I like a good apple pie. Yeah, so I think I would probably defer to pie, but preferably neither.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would go in maybe a donut.
Donuts are good. I like that one. Oh, that's a good answer. That's excellent. What's one question you have for me?
How's it going? Like, how do you feel about this? Like, this is the one thing I'm curious about. Like, we've talked about it a little bit, but I'm curious. How do you feel about this show? Because I feel like it's resonating. It seems to be doing well. The Patreon's doing well. Mm-hmm. It's a good idea. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, I guess let me get it down to a basic question. Do you feel finally like you're capable of doing this? Because you really were not believing in yourself when we were talking about it.
I'm learning fast. I still feel like it looks like a home movie. One of my lights is dying in the middle of the show, and the lighting has changed in mid-episode. My lower thirds look like something that I could do in the third grade. I'm constantly struggling to stay ahead of schedule, keep my head above water, find new guests, get this put together. I'm terrified people are going to suddenly stop liking it. But this audience has been ridiculously supportive. And the guests have been extraordinary. And everybody I've met has an amazing story. So yeah, I kind of think this may work out. This is fun. I mean, it's working. And I am hearing stories from people that I know well that shock and move me, which leads me to believe that for people who know you less well, it's going to be even more impactful.
I hope so. I think it's a great idea for a show. I like
Thank
it.
you.
I think some of the simple, I always call my fantasy football teams Occam's razor. For the simplest explanation tends to be the right one, which is not necessarily Occam's razor, but that's like kind of the conclusion of it. And so no science nerds out there get mad at me.
Yeah.
But I do believe that sometimes people overthink things or like draw these very complicated conclusions about what's good. And I think that what I liked about this show when you pitched it was it's about a person that's important to you and stories that resonate with you around that person. I'm like, isn't that just the fucking simplest thing? And like, I love it.
Thank you.
And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that's like the highest compliment.
I'm enjoying the correspondence with people. I write letters now for Patreon. I'm writing handwritten letters. I love it. I didn't realize I would enjoy it. I'm writing this pen pals, most of whom I've never met, but I'm writing handwritten letters, several a month. It's great.
Yeah,
I keep getting people are telling me stories. I'm just like, this is unreal. People are making my life better through this, and I think I'm helping some of them too. So I like that.
Maybe next time I'm on, I'll tell you some stories about my dad. Maybe we'll do him next.
What about
it'll be fun.
Can we start Occam's Dollar Shave Club?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. All right. Occam's Dollar
I
Shave
like
Club.
that. Yeah.
All right.
Or Occam could be like the mascot.
I like that.
But I'm proud of you, Jared, and I really am.
Thank
I
you,
am
Colin.
super happy about the successes. I knew it was going to be fun.
You never. Oh yeah. Colin, I was terrified of this whole thing and scared to death that this would never work. Colin was just like, no, you're going to do great. And it's going to be wonderful. And people are going to back you up and you're going to get huge encouragement and the Patreon's going to work and you're going to build a community and people are just going to come in and be one. And yeah, all that happened because Colin was right.
Yeah. Don't forget it.
Trademark. Kind of funny. Speaking of kind of funny. So a lot of these people in the audience already know who you are. For those who don't, where can they find you? Because you're an interesting dude.
Oh, thank you. I tweet a lot I regularly tweet about games. No taxation. I tweet at this time of year a lot about football and politics and hockey eventually. So you can find me there. More serious stuff goes on. You can follow me on Facebook. Or I like tweet essays or something every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram and stuff like that. And you can find all my stuff at kindoffunny.com. We're on YouTube. We do podcasts and things of this nature. But
4, sometimes 5 friends.
4, sometimes 5 best friends used to gather around this table, actually, this very table.
This very table. Right here.
But yeah, so, I appreciate everyone out there and for supporting us. And we really do, over at Kind of Funny. And me as an individual, like you guys allowed us to do some pretty cool shit. And we really respect and appreciate it. And if you've never heard of us or you want to check it out, please do. And let me know what you think. You can always reach out to me. And happy to hear from you. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed those stories as well about my sister. I have not opened up about her pretty much ever, really, to the audience. So
Colin is always working to play me up in kind ways. But yeah, now I've got him captive for just a second on my thing, and he can't edit it out. Colin has been one of the truest friends I've ever had. Nobody has ever gone farther to do more for me in my life. And I owe this guy a lot. He's good people. So anyway, I know
that's very kind. You deserve all the good things that come to you. You're one of the good people.
Yeah, but so do you, and you don't know that. That's the part that's Well,
I appreciate that. Maybe I'll learn one day.
Bless all y'all. Thank you so much for watching and listening. You know the spiel, and you can always find us on patreon.com/JaredPetty if you'd like to support the show financially. That means a ton. Your subscriptions matter, as do your reviews on iTunes, etc. And so, for that matter, to all the wonderful, kind notes that you write to each other, that you've written to me and my family, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.